GK's Vinyl Life. I'm your host, Anthony K. And on this week's episode, I'm going to be exploring a topic I talked about a year ago on an episode, and I never did continue that. And on this week's episode, I've got a special guest this week, Miss Ali Claire. She's a famous art nude model, and that all plays into the theme of today's episode. There's a reason I have Miss Ali Claire here next to me, dressed quite stunningly. And that's because our topic this week is the provocative album covers of the 1970s. And as I said in the beginning of this video, about a year ago, I did a video on cheesecake album covers of the 50s and 60s, where I showed kind of the birth of these cheesecake modeling album covers that were so prevalent on jazz albums, mostly jazz albums in the 50s and 60s. And at that time I'd said, one day I will do the 70s. So finally getting around to doing the 70s, I was going to be working with Ali today anyhow, and she's kindly consented to helping me out on this video. And I thought it would be very appropriate to really bring the whole idea home of the cheesecake and nude album covers of the 70s than to have a cheesecake nude model next to me. Sorry, but this is YouTube, so she can't be nude. Sorry, people. But you get the idea. I think it's all going to be in fun to explore this subject. So yeah, like I said, I've got a stack of records here. We're going to blow through them. I would suggest watching my previous video, the 50s and 60s album cover video, because that I talk a lot about the roots of how this all started, what the concept, why this all started. So this is pretty much a continuation of what I talked about in that video. So I'm not going to go into that history of it. All I'm going to say is that where cheesecake album covers of the 50s and 60s were very tame in so much that they just had girls in, lingerie, bikinis, just provocatively posing. In the 70s, it was pretty much no hold barred in the 70s. It just the floodgates threw open. There were nude album covers, and people that have watched my Band and Rare Records Volumes 1 and 2 videos, and thank you to the over 7,000 people that have watched that one video. That's just crazy that I've had over 7,000 views on that one video. So for those of you that watched those, I think a couple in here I did show on a couple of those videos. So here in North America, we were much more conservative than in Europe. Europe, the nudity on album covers in Europe was rampant, and you'll see some of that towards the end of this video, especially Italian jazz musicians, smooth jazz musicians, Fausto Papetti, Gil Ventura. Fausto Papetti made 40 albums, had over 40 album covers, all with nude women on them. It was just crazy. But it was more accepted. In Europe, nudity was much more accepted than in North America. And a number of album covers here in North America had to be changed. They were banned and had to be changed. But a lot just came here and they were fine. A lot of them were just fine. There's no rhyme or reason to what got banned and what didn't, as you'll see in this stack that I'm showing you. So we're going to get on with it here, and I'm going to blow through these like I said once before. We're going to just blow through these, and Ali here is going to be my ring girl, you might want to say, and she's going to hold up the album covers for me and provide a little bit of cheesecake entertainment for you guys, just to make this all kind of all in fun. There were album covers that were definitely inappropriate in the 70s, and I've talked about them before. Album covers that had children on them that I don't approve of. I've shown the Virgin Killer album by the Scorpions with the young girl on the cover, and I've gotten in a lot of trouble in the vinyl community. Some people just didn't think I should show it, whatever, but it's an album cover that needs to be talked about at some point because it was bad. I mean, I totally agree that the album should have never been released, but it was Europe. The Scorpions got in trouble for a lot of their album covers, but I'm not going to show that album cover today. It's been shown once, and that's enough. I never need to show that again. It was inappropriate, but it's funny because that album was very, very inappropriate, yet Led Zeppelin's Houses of the Holy album cover, which stands to this day, had, multiple nude children on the cover. So kind of a double standard there. And now those two children were Robert Plant's kids, and they were multiplied multiple times over the cover. But still, that is one area that I think in the nude modeling in the 70s should have never been explored in the first place. Using, children, naked children on album covers was just wrong on so many levels. But all the stuff I got to show today, these are all with, you know, models that I don't know what, you know, there's no real rhyme or reason to why there was a nude girl on the album cover. It really didn't have anything to do with the music most of the time. There was no, there was really no correlation between what the album was about and what the cover was about. It was obviously put there to sell the record. That's the only way I can figure it. It was just put there to sell the record. Titillate the public. It was the fad. It was the fad. Playboy magazine was in its heyday. You know, all these men's magazines were in their heyday, so it was kind of the norm. And once, you know, a few people started doing it, everybody started doing it. And we'll talk about the 80s and 90s in a future video on the 2000s, because I think definitely in the last few years, you're seeing a lot of it coming back now on album covers again. It's starting to become prevalent again on album covers, nudity and whatnot. All right, so let's get on with it now. And first up is an album cover by Yes. And this is their Time and a Word album cover. Time and a Word. This album actually never appeared here in North America. It was released in the UK. The North American cover featured the band on it. And the funny thing about that is that the band on the cover wasn't even the current lineup of Yes that recorded that album. So they had Steve, I believe it was Steve Howe was on the album cover on the North American Time and a Word, and Steve Howe didn't even appear on that album. He wouldn't appear on Yes albums until the next album, but he was part of the band when they had released the North American version of the album. But he actually wasn't even featured on the album. But this is the original album cover, and as of course you can see, we've got a nude girl here. What that had to do with Time and a Word, I don't know, but there you go. Time and a Word, 1970, one of the earliest nude covers from the 70s. And next up, now this one's not nude, but it's a very, very famous cover. It's the Cars, Candy-O, 1979. And the reason why I decided to show this, obviously a very sexy, beautiful drawing. And this was drawn by Alberto Vargas, and it was one of the last paintings he actually did before he died. And he is famous for, of course, doing cartoon art like this, very provocative, sensual cartoon art like this. He did this for Playboy magazine, and one of his pictures would appear in every issue of Playboy magazine. There would be a Vargas painting, drawing, whatever you want to call it, sketch. And so this is the Cars, Candy-O, 1979. Next up, now that wasn't nude, but still very sexy, very provocative. Next up, we've got Flash, the progressive rock band Flash. And this cover speaks for itself. And if we open up the gatefold here, you will see it was just a humongous pair of boobs. So I guess we can sort of get from the name Flash why they're doing that, because she's flashing her boobs. And the next album cover would have her flashing her butt. You opened it up and you had her panties and her butt, which we will talk about panties and butts and crotch shots in a minute. So that's Flash. And I think that's from 1970, that album cover, around 1970, 71, that particular album, Flash. Next up, one of the most famous, I've shown this album many, many times before, as everybody knows. I'm a huge Golden Earring fan, my favorite band. And this is their Moontan album, another album cover that was banned, that did not appear here in North America. We got the picture of the ear with a golden earring on it. But this is the original cover with the with the Vanilla Queen, which is a song on the album. She was the Vanilla Queen, the showgirl. An absolutely stunning, I think this is an absolutely amazing, stunning album cover. I think it's gorgeous. And on the inside, we got, for all you ladies, on the inside we had Barry Hay himself, you know, showing his butt. So there you go. Another very provocative album cover. One that we never got here originally. Next up, this is Manfred Mann and Angel Station. And I don't know if you guys can see where it is here, but maybe if she turns the cover upside down, you will see there's a topless female vampire hanging from the ceiling on the cover of Manfred Mann's Angel Station. And I believe this one's from about the mid-70s. I won't bother looking, but I think it's about 75, 76, this album cover. Manfred Mann, Angel Station. A little bit of nudity on that one. Very minor, but still nudity. Next up, another famous album cover, Santana Abraxas, a legendary album. Absolutely gorgeous artwork. Look at the drawing; it's just absolutely gorgeous. And of course, we have the colored woman here in all her glory, nude on the cover. But that's a gorgeous cover. It's so artistic, so beautiful, such gorgeous. I think Santana You know, legends, always having great covers. Santana Abraxas, once again, nude photography. Next up is an album by Carlos Santana's brother, who never really had much of a career, and his name was Jorge Santana. It was one of Santana's brothers. He did an album himself, and on this album we basically got a girl's crotch, which appeared on many, many albums over the years. I don't know what crotch shots had to do with the record, but this isn't the only crotch shot album cover out there. There's famous crotch shot album covers. I think I've got another one here, but there's so many. If you actually go and look at albums in the 70s, and I think they, you know, even later, apparently the female crotch is a very popular thing to photograph for an album cover. I don't know why, because what was the name of this album? I think it was just called. Was it just called? Yeah, it was just self-titled. So I don't know. Whatever. Whatever. And now next up is one of my favorite albums of all time by this band, and probably one of my top 20 favorite albums, period, of all time, and that's Bebop Deluxe, Sunburst Finish. I think this is a stunning example of you know, well done nude art on an album cover. We got the nude girl in the tube holding the flaming guitar up. Sunburst Finish, a fantastic album cover. Once again, fully nude. But that was the 70s. But a spectacular album cover and a spectacular album. Anybody that never heard of Bebop Deluxe, this is the album to start with for Bebop Deluxe. An incredible spin. Next up, this is a French singer. Her name was Nadine Expert. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It probably should have an accent in there because she was French. And this is Nadine Expert. I'm not going to show you the inside cover because in the inside cover she goes full frontal nudity on the inside cover. I don't know why, but she does. I guess that was one way to break into the music business, is just get nude on my album cover. Yeah, that'll help me break into the music industry. But you can see here, there's a little bit here, and things are starting to peek out down here. And when you go inside, she's basically flashing the camera. And this was her Nadine Expert. And what was the name of this album cover? I think this was another self-titled one. Yeah. Oh no, Excuse Me, Monsieur was the name of this album. Excuse me, Monsieur. So apparently, you know, whatever. And this is kind of from the disco era. I think this was a disco album. Nadine Expert, an artist that wasn't afraid to show herself on the album cover. And there'd be a few more over the years that would do that. Next up, we've got an album, and I think this is an import. I can't remember where this came from. This is a band called Ivory, and I think she's going to try to censor this a little bit because we got some boobs right out there. This is an album by a band called Ivory, who never amounted to anything. It's kind of a soft pop kind of mess. And this is an import, and a great picture on the cover, but I don't know what possessed me to buy this album cover way back. I actually bought this when I was a teenager, and probably my teenage hormones were kicking in at the time when I was 15 and saw the nude girl on the cover and bought it. And then, but the album's a mess. I wouldn't recommend this album to anybody. But funnily enough, this album actually goes for a pretty good price on Discogs, probably just because of the cover. But there you go. They tried to sell themselves, and she'll flip it over. There's the band for you. They're like, look at these gimps. I'm sorry, Ivory, wherever you are, but I don't know. But I guess, you know, what would you rather see when you bought an album? These guys or this? I think we'd all see this, right? So obviously she was used to try to hopefully make a name for these guys, but it failed horribly. Next up, we've got another famous album cover. Everybody should know this one. This is Roxy Music. You know, a classic album, and most people know that this album was censored in North America. The girls were removed from the album cover, and when you bought it, it just had a couple of, you know, had a bush. It had a bush on the album cover. But, I mean, I don't see anything wrong there. You know, sure, there's a little bit of see-through going on here. She's holding her boobs, whatever. But yeah, this album cover was censored and banned back in the 70s, but very famous, and it stands now. I mean, you can, when you buy a repress of it now, it's got the proper cover. Because I think a lot of nudity has been desensitized over the years, and what was considered really bad in the 70s is nothing nowadays. It really is nothing nowadays. You have to really go far to shock people and upset people nowadays. But yeah, Roxy Music's album. And funny, I posted this on my Instagram. in December, on one of my spins of the day, I posted this album cover and the album playing on my turntable like I do on my spin of the day. And Instagram didn't like this one. They pulled it down. And they didn't pull it down because of the nudity. They pulled it down for sexual activity in the picture. And I guess her holding her boobs is considered sexual activity. So this one got pulled down by Instagram because I showed this album cover. Go figure. Next up is a disco artist from the late 70s. Her name was Kelly Marie. This is her album, Do You Like It Like That? Well, do you like it like that? Where she decided to wear a bunch of lingerie on the front cover. Now, you can't see it from here, but it is rather transparent. But it's pretty washed out on the album cover. But once again, an artist using her obvious physical assets to sell herself on an album cover in the 70s. Next up is another disco. We're kind of in the disco phase right now. This is Munich Machine, another disco group album, and this is pretty tame, but still, you have the open chest, and if you look on the back here, it is a little more provocative. There's not much covering things up here, but another example of just sticking it all out there to help sell the music. And this was a disco group called Munich Machine. Now, next up, we've got a group, and this is a funk band. Famous funk band. I love these guys' music. Certainly the album covers became iconic. Every one of their album covers featured provocative women in some sort of situation. Maybe that was just their style. That was their thing. They are the Ohio Players, and I pulled 5 of their albums to show you here, though there are many more. And this is the Fire album. And as you can see, when the gatefold opens up, she's holding the fire hose. So, well, definitely provocative, but that was the Ohio Players, and Ohio Players, fantastic funk. I love the Ohio Players music, and I gotta admit, their album covers were pretty provocative, but they were very well done. A really fine example of really good, sexy, without being over the top, 70s photography, and even on the inside, there she is in her fire hat, and then you have the members of the band. And that was the Fire album. The next one up will be Ohio Players' Honey. I'm just going to show you 5 of their many albums they did. This is Honey. And I think this is a gorgeous picture. It really, truly is a gorgeous picture. The girl pouring honey down her body. She'll get it. There we go. The girl pouring honey down her body. Beautiful photograph. And to this day, photographers still like to use this theme in shoots. You see it all the time in nude and boudoir photography. Girls pouring honey or other liquids down their body. I've done a honey shoot myself, even with a model where she poured honey down her body. But that's a gorgeous picture, and on the inside, that's a stunning photo. Really, really provocative, really sexy. That's how it was in the 70s. And another one, Ohio Players. This is their compilation called Gold. Ohio Players Gold. Beautiful album cover. And once again, a gatefold and a gorgeous African-American woman on there. Absolutely gorgeous photography, gorgeous picture, fully nude, but still keeping it all respectable. And the same on the inside, gorgeous pictures. Ohio Players Gold. And I'll go 2 more Ohio Players here. I'm not going to even try to pronounce that. Jazzy Lady.
Jazzy Lady.
Oh, Jazzy.
Jazzy Lady.
There we go. You can say it better than me. I'm going to let you say it.
No.
Yeah, you can say
No.
it. Okay, next up is a couple more Ohio Players. This is Ohio Players' Jazzy Lady. Jazzy Lady. And she's definitely a jazzy lady who on the inside cover is much more provocative on the inside cover. Jazzy Lady. Another great 70s exploitation. I guess you could call these exploitation covers. Of course, exploitation cinema, big in the 70s. So I guess you could even call them exploitation covers, a lot of these covers. And last up, one more Ohio Players album cover, and this is one of their later ones. I think this was called Player. Was this album called Player? Oh, this was Everybody Up. Everybody's Up. And
Everybody's up.
Everybody's up. And I'm sure every guy that was opening this cover was up when he opened this cover. But there she is in her wet T-shirt. That's such a cliche kind of photograph. The wet T-shirt, and then on the inside again. Once again in her wet T-shirt. Everybody's up. We're all up with the Ohio Players. And moving right along. And she's doing a wonderful job, people. What better way to show cheesecake album covers than with the gorgeous Ali Claire. Playboy Playmate Ali Claire with me to help me do this. And if you're out there, if you're a photographer out there watching this, and you're in the Toronto area or the Ontario area, and she will be getting back to traveling North America for photo shoots, but go to @Ali Claire Model on Instagram to work with her. If you want to shoot her or work with her, @Ali Claire Model on Instagram. You can DM her there and maybe bring you some business here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So next up we got Scorpions in Trance. This is one I showed on my banned and rare record covers video, so I'm just going to go quickly. This was banned because there is a little tiny boob there that you guys probably can't even see on the camera. And they just had to they had to airbrush it out for the Canadian audience and American audience. But another one there, just a little boob coming out. The Scorpions, of course, had multiple albums with female body parts on them, such as this next one, Best of the Scorpions, which had a butt with the scorpion sitting on it. I think that's a great cover. I think that's a great cover. It's pretty cool. Best of the Scorpions. That was one of their first comps with the girl's butt on the cover. And then next up, another album cover that got banned. That here in North America they had to remove the girl from the album cover because we got bubblegum on the boob. Bubblegum on the boob. Apparently, bubblegum on a boob wasn't allowed in the 70s. And on the back cover, of course, she's kind of poking out there on the side. But yeah, this one got banned. It got removed. They removed the people from the seat, and it was Love Drive. Then just became an empty back seat. So I don't see what was wrong with this, but it raised eyebrows back in the day. And then next up, now this one we'll have fun with this one. I've shown this on my Banned and Rare Records video. Yeah, just get the nips covered. And Silver Convention, disco group from the 70s. Silver Convention, and this album got completely changed. I've talked about it in my I think volume 2 of my Banned and Rare Records. This album got completely changed to a black album cover with a pair of handcuffs on it. Which also I don't know what that had to do with. What was the name of this album? It was just Silver Convention. It was just self-titled. So I don't know. The cover we got was totally black with a pair of silver handcuffs on it. This one, big boobs, and as she flips it out, maybe if we just over, and that kind of completed the picture. And inside this album cover, there's actually a massive poster of this album cover. So I guess young boys could stick that up on their wall in the 70s, and so there you go, Silver Convention, and all them big boobs. Next up is Gal Costa, and this is an album called India. This is a jazz album. It's a Brazilian jazz, so it's a lot of salsa style music and Brazilian jazz. A great spin, absolutely great spin. But here, once again, we've got and this one's even got a little bit of a, what do they call it, a camel toe on it. Here we have, once again, the crotch of a woman being used center stage on an album cover. What it has to do with the album, I don't know. But it's called India, and on the back we had some I guess native women. I would say probably South American, indigenous kind of thing going on there. I don't know. Gal Costa, India. I don't think there was anything on the inside. There's nothing on the inside to see. But there you go. Once again, the woman's crotch. The next one is a instrumental album. This is by a group called Enterprise. They're from Spain, and this is an instrumental album. It's a little bit on the disco-y side. It's kind of funk and disco. They were playing a lot of famous, standards. Things like, what was on here? Ebb Tide, Fool on the Hill. Things like that. You Make Me Feel Brand New. So it was kind of just a disco instrumental-y thing. And of course, as you can see, we have a silhouette of a naked lady on the front cover. And last but not least, next up is the Italian ones that I was talking about. One of the most famous fellows for doing nude women on. This guy released like 50 plus albums, maybe more, 60 albums. And over 40 of them had nude women on the covers. Right out there. His name was Fausto Papetti. He was a smooth jazz sax player from Italy. And I guess in Italy, these kind of covers were no big deal because all these are Italian pressings. I like jazz. I like smooth jazz. I like these sax smooth jazz from the 70s and 80s. I do like it. And when I first started collecting Fausto, the first few albums I got, of course, didn't have any of the nude women on them. But as I kind of started at the beginning of his library and started working up, and come the 12th, he had this what was called Raccolta series. I'm assuming Raccolta maybe means, I didn't look up the word, maybe I should have before this video, but I'm assuming Raccolta maybe means hits or something like that. So he produced a whole series, and they would just be numbered. And I noticed another Italian artist would do the same thing, Gil Ventura. But they would just be numbers, number 12, number 13, number 14, so on. Because all his albums were just famous songs of the day being performed by him. And the first one I'm going to show you is Raccolta number 12. And it would be the first album that Fausto would use. She's not really doing a great job of covering it there, but it's okay. I think we all know him now. But here she is lying on the beach, topless. But that was the first album cover that Fausto would indeed use a nude model on. And every album cover from the number 12, volume 12, right up to volume 40 had nude women on the cover. I think except 25. But they all had nude women on the cover. So we'll go to we're showing a couple more examples of Mr. Fausto. This is Raccolta number 21. And this is a really nice picture. I do like this picture a lot. But she was right out there. You know, she was right out there. It's a cool picture. I think a lot of these pictures were just modeling pictures snatched out of nowhere. I don't think they were ever actually shot for the actual covers. In fact, I think I remember one of the pictures on an album that I have there, I'm not showing today, that actually had, I think the picture was snagged from like Playboy or Penthouse or something. When I look at it, I'm going, I vaguely kind of saw this picture somewhere else before. But I think they just snagged pictures from wherever and stuck them on the album covers. I don't think these album covers were actually, these pictures were shot for Fausto's albums. But they were classy, some nice thing, but that was the norm, especially in Italy. All of it, and you'll see in a minute, another two more Italian artists all did the same thing. So there you go, Fausto Papetti number 20-something. And next up, another one by Fausto. This is number 27. And once again, nude on the front. I think we got bum on the back. And this actually had a gatefold with a whole bunch of pictures of the same girl. I think she's kind of, looks like she might be painted in a little bit of gold paint or something. But once again, same idea. And then two more of Fausto's I'll show you. This is number 28. Number 28. And we got a little bit of side boob here, so we'll censor it a little bit. But once again, nude girl there. And then on the back cover, same idea. Out there in all her glory. And if you opened the gatefold, it had a big spread of her. It was like a centerfold of this nude model. And last up, one more from Fausto. This one is, I think, safe to show. And there's another one. And that was number 32. Number 32. I think there were 40. They end at 40. But there's number 32. Once again, nude girl on the cover just for the sake of having a nude girl on the cover of the album. Had nothing to do with the music. And then next up is Santo and Johnny. Now, Santo and Johnny, of course, everybody knows for Sleepwalk. Famous song from yesterday. But yeah, Santo and Johnny, they did the same thing. And the cover looks one thing, but when you open the gatefold, there we go. When you open the gatefold, naked lady. They go Santo and Johnny, and I guess, it was what everybody was doing. That's the only way I can explain it. Once one person did it, they all jumped on the bandwagon, and that was just the norm of the 70s. Next up is another, I believe this guy is Italian. I might be wrong on that. People correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong. This is Johnny Sachs. And Successi Sempre Verdi. So I'm assuming that's Italian. Another smooth jazz album. And I'm not quite sure how we're going to show this because Ali's going to do her best here, but there's a lot of nudity on here. There's a lot of nudity on here. She'll show the inside cover. I think it's easier for her to censor the inside cover, other than the little bit of pubes that are squeaking out of the corner here. But there we go, folks. Yet another one. And it's funny because this actually has a little cutout, die cutout thing on it, which lines up with, I don't know what, it lines up with the record label logo or something. I don't know why they die cut it, but they did. And last up on the show, we got two by Gil Ventura, who I just mentioned, another Italian smooth sax guy. And this was, I believe, his number one. This was the same idea. They were hits. And this was, he called them Sax Club, I think. Yeah, Sax Club number one. And this one's not so bad. You got a girl playing a saxophone. At least there was some correlation between what was happening on the album cover and what the album was about, because at least she's playing a saxophone. So give him credit for that. She's at least playing a saxophone. And one more from Gil Ventura. Last one I'm going to show you. This is Sax Club number 14, Romantic. And we've got a girl just, you know, I think she's, what's she doing? Yeah, she got that finger to the lip sexy going on here. The finger to the lip sexy thing that girls do, apparently. There you go. Gil Ventura and Sax Club number 14. Thank you, Ellie, for showing all of those. And that's it. That's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed that look at provocative nude album covers of the 70s. Co-hosted by the gorgeous, look at this, absolutely gorgeous Ali Claire, Playboy Playmate, Cyber Playmate. Check her out on Instagram, and the photographers, if you want to work with her, contact her. And that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed my video. As I always say every week, please like this video. Likes always make people feel good. And subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. I try to post a video like this every week. And also comments down below. I always reply to every comment. Comments are the best way to improve a channel. And turn that notification bell on if you are a subscriber, so you don't miss any one of my videos. Especially, you definitely don't want to miss a video with the beautiful Miss Ali Claire, though I don't know when she'll be making a reappearance. Maybe one day in the future she'll make a reappearance on my channel. And last but not least, follow me on Instagram at AGK_Lifetime of Vinyl, where I try to post my spin of the day every day. That's it. That's all. Thank you, Ali, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll see you guys all in my next video. And as I always say, rock and roll!